What's up, everybody? Alex here with a post-war pickup, a 1953, hey, that's a great year, Stahl Meyer Frank's card of New York Giants outfielder Bobby Thomson, who's probably most famous for this one home run that he hit in the Polo Grounds one fateful October day in 1951. But of course, as you no doubt noticed, the Stahlmeyer is surrounded by some vintage baseball cards and memorabilia that all have one thing in common, and that's 1950s New York City baseball, which has sort of unofficially become a focus of my collecting ever since I finished the 1953 Bowman set. Now, I'm not from New York, although I lived in Brooklyn and worked in Manhattan for about a decade, nor was I alive in the 1950s. But nevertheless, there's just something about that era of baseball that I am inexplicably drawn to, whether it's the personalities, the stories, and the rivalries that just swept through all the communities that make up the five boroughs. For me, the whole Willie, Mickey, and the Duke thing, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And of course, the 1950s just so happens to be the era where many of the most beautiful and eye-catching cards were designed and manufactured. So I'm having a lot of fun just delving into this era. And so that's why this card is a welcome addition to my collection. There are certainly more popular and more coveted cards from the Stahlmeyer sets, but what I liked about this one was not only its affordability, but also its place within the world of 1950s baseball in New York City. Okay, so let's take a closer look at this thing. You may have noticed the purple stamp of a number that's just above Bobby Thomson's name. From what I've read, this was some kind of an internal system that was related to packaging and distribution by Stahlmeyer. Incidentally, you can see that there's another giant standing behind Thomson with his back to the photographer. So I looked it up, and number 3 was actually Coach Herman Franks, which seems appropriate not only because of his last name, but because Franks may have played a role in Thomson's famous shot heard round the world. According to the book The Echoing Green, Franks was stationed out in the center field clubhouse of the Polo Grounds during the 1951 tiebreaker against the Dodgers, armed with a telescope to relay the signs, which may or may not have led to Thomson's famous home run. On the back of the card, you can see a short write-up about the player, along with some stats, and a contest for kids to win a couple of tickets to a game. Okay, so I want to read the back of this thing, at least a little bit of it. Bobby will always be a Giant immortal after his famous home run in the playoffs with the Dodgers in 1951. The great clout came in the ninth of the third game and made the Giants the National League champs. That's just so great. You know, Stahlmeyer's Franks and New York baseball go hand in hand. In the 50s, the brand supplied all three teams with hot dogs. So chances are, if you were at Yankee Stadium, Ebbets Field, or the Polo Grounds back in the day, you were scarfing down a Stahlmeyer's hot dog while you took in the game. But of course, Stahlmeyer's were also available at the local grocery in New York, so it's fun to think about the fact that this very card once sat in a package of hot dogs that was purchased somewhere in the New York area in 1953. I've been thinking about the varied reactions to seeing Bobby Thomson at the local grocery or meat market. A Giants fan looks at this and says, hey, there's good old Bobby, and decides to buy a pack of hot dogs. A Dodger fan sees this and says, that bastard Bobby Thomson, and digs around for a Duke Snider package instead. A Yankees fan looks at this and says, this doesn't concern me in the least. I'm a Yankees fan. We're above such things, and pulls a package with Mickey Mantle on top instead. Alright, now most of you already know this, but if you're interested in learning more about this set, along with other vintage hot dog and meat issues, you have to check out Dave Blue Jacket 66 ongoing series that is a great primer on this unique corner of the hobby. I've posted a link to part 1 of Dave's series down below. You know, if you hold your nose up to the screen and take a big whiff, you might actually be able to pick up the scent of some vintage 1950s weenies. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching the video. Take care, and I'll talk to you all soon.